shit to overdrive.
Okay, looks like we're live. Let's. Are you gonna chat?
Yes.
Are they seeing us?
Chatting it up.
He sees Dylan.
Charlie said that.
Yes. Whee!
Oh, see now, if I set that there, I'm blocking. That all that is Dylan. I'll try not to block so much of you.
Call him Steakums.
What's the Steakums thing?
I don't know. Charlie decided today to...
He wants to see if he can make it stick.
People have never had problems getting nicknames to stick for me. I just always hate them. I absolutely hate nicknames, period.
Yeah, nicknames are fucking terrible. Right there with you, man.
So if
Alright.
he puts it in the right people's hands, it'll stick.
Time for a quality and content-filled podcast.
Booze.
Don't worry if I bug out for a bit, because I'm going to get some wine here in a little bit.
Box wine.
Yeah, we're gonna hit the box wine tonight, so
Nothing but the quality.
come halfway through this podcast.
Nothing bad has ever happened on the podcast while
It'd be
Cicely
like-
has drunk boxed
It'd be
wine.
like the mailman on Funny Farm, you know? It's like by the time he
I
gets
am
out
the
that
voice
far,
of
he's
God.
pretty liquored up, so... Oh.
Oh.
Alright, Dylan, sir. Are you ready? We're gonna... you know what? This is gonna be a little bit rough, I guess, because... I did watch the video on that one. But I guess... Yeah, you're just gonna have to freewheel on this one. You just have to be interesting, Dylan.
Roll with it.
That's hard to do for me.
Roll with the fucking punches.
Even when I
man.
am
Yeah.
interesting, I'm not interesting.
Oh, alright, you ready?
Uncle Dylan can do this.
Yes.
Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Mike.
You know what, Dylan?
What?
You watch all those beer ads?
Which ones?
All
Which
of them.
beers?
Any
I
of
guess
them.
so. I have seen a subset of all the beer ads that exist.
You notice how they
yes.
always have hot women in the beer ads?
Yeah, sometimes. And
And you know-
sometimes they have douchebags like that Dos Equis guy. The most
Yeah.
interesting man in the world.
Yes. So, subliminally, they're kind of telling you, if you drink our beer, you get to be the most interesting man in the world and have these hot women.
Yes. When you drink your beer, which you don't often do, but when you do. Anyway.
So, have you seen the Dream Build Play lineup for the finalists?
I have not actually seen the finalists.
A lot.
I just killed this.
A
discussion.
lot of sexy-looking games in there.
And this relates to beer ads because they're like the women and the interesting men in the beer ads.
They're all using, a lot of these sexy games are using the Sunburn engine. So if you use the Sunburn engine, you could be sexy too. I took a look at Orbitron Revolution. This game, it makes me cry. This
Makes you
game,
cry.
it makes me cry. We have no chance
Of ever making an Orbitron.
of making a game that looks this great. I mean, how does an indie studio do this? It just makes you break down and wonder, question yourself as a developer, as a man, I feel inadequate.
You entered into
However-
this existential quandary because of a game.
However, we're going to use the Sunburn engine.
Yes, we are.
It's kind of like a little Viagra for our game. It's like a little Extends. It's like a little Smiling Bob for our
That
game.
dude is creepy.
But you know what? Smiling Bob gets action.
I guess so, but he's still creepy as hell.
Turns a lot of heads. Gets a lot of downloads. Or whatever
I guess so.
Smiling Bob does.
I'm questioning your use of analogy in this ad.
Are you calling a
There's a
yellow
reason-
card here?
There's a reason why argument by analogy is technically a logical fallacy.
It is. However, I encourage everyone to go out and take a look at Orbitron Revolution. Go take a look at Avaglide 2, or go take a look at Prognicator. I think I said that right. Progenitor. Take a look at both of them. And just look at the graphics and the lighting and the rendering in these games and know you're seeing the Sunburn engine at its best.
Yes.
So go check it out. You can find these videos to all these games right off the blogs on synapsegaming.com. All right, everyone. Welcome
By
to the
Sunburn.
show. What's that?
By Sunburn.
Sunburn.
By Sunburn.
20 licenses.
20 licenses. You know, we didn't mention this. We haven't mentioned this, but it's only $150
Yes.
to get started. So, I mean, it's almost what you'll make when you sell an indie game. Almost.
Yeah, you'll.
Almost.
What a fucking bargain. Like, do you want to make those fucking shadows?
That's
I can't roll that shit myself.
No, I hate rendering shadows. Rendering shadows is the suckiest thing on earth.
Oh, the voice you are hearing there, that is not myself, Dylan, or Cicely, is, hope I get this right, Patrick Derosby?
Derosby.
Derosby.
With the B, yeah.
Yeah, I wrote the B big.
The voice
but,
of God, as these chat people are saying.
MTMB Studios is what you're better known as, although that's not actually your developer handle.
No. That's Apoxel is my
Apoxel
gamer tag.
is what you'll find if you go looking for on Xbox Indies or GameMarx if you go looking at the developer. But most famously known, I think, as the developer of Mute Crimson. And
Yeah, famous.
we
I fucking walk down the street and just don't get me started.
Well, we talked about this a little bit on the podcast. Talked about this a little bit. I mean, before the podcast, and I talked about this a little bit with Dylan, and I've discussed at length Mute Crimson and my bipolar on it. And I kind of said to Dylan, it's like, before we bring him on, I need to figure out what I'm rating this game, because I don't want to feel like I was influenced by having the developer on, or I don't want to feel any awkward. I just want to know like, this is what I want to rate this game. And I actually
Finally
want to
choose.
Yes, I'm going to give Mute Crimson a buy with a little asterisk that says you need to be into pain.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get
I want
that
your
in later
fucking
levels.
tears. I want to see them send in the screens.
I've done that to games. Like, this is a buy so long as you're in this particular demographic. But I can understand that. Like, even if you don't get all the way through a really hard platformer, sometimes it's still worth the buy, even for the experience,
So,
hitting your breaking point.
I feel kind of bad because we didn't get our review up on Mute Crimson. It was a game of the week.
Yeah.
Like what, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
Whenever it was released, that's when it would have been
Seems
eligible.
like it's been longer than that, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Was it March, I think?
it would have been March. We were still doing the show from the couch
Oh.
when we did that one as game of the week. We didn't actually do trials of all the games that time. We were trying to do a much bigger show, and that wasn't working for us. But because I remember that's why I picked it up. I was like, we really need to review our games of the week and see what they came out on. Although I tend to give a pass to our reviews of the week, but
Yes.
our games of the week. So, but it held up there, and I feel bad because, while you're on the dashboard, like, is really your chance. You want to have the reviews and everything out while you're on the dashboard because you kind of slide off. But how did it perform, if you don't mind saying?
Well, it did better than my other games, but nothing too special. Just like 300 sales, enough to make back the to go over the $150 thing, to get the money. So that's that's enough for me. I was just making a game, offhandedly.
So you did say before the show, and I hope I'm not going too far, but you did say before the show that you're new to development and period. Like, you're new to developing and you just kind of jumped in with games. And is XNA your first experience to programming, or had you had stuff before that?
Last February, as of last year, I picked up a Java book. I started with Java. I pretty much went through the book in and out over the course of 2 months while I was working someplace. Then I picked up a XNA book, And I mean, C# is fucking Java, like pretty much. I mean, very close syntax, very very close. And I just started working with XNA, and I made my first game was Block Puzzles Revenge, and I made that over the course of 2 weeks, and I just keep going on from there, just improving. At the point where I'm making a pretty fleshed out generic editor right now for my next games.
All right. I mean, that's reassuring to hear, because I mean, I come to this, been programming since '85, and we do some community groups here, trying to get kids mostly, involved in programming through XNA and such, and I always have to wonder, like, how easy is this to approach, because when I started it was basic, but all you did on the computer then was text and maybe 320 by 200 graphics resolution. Like, it was a whole lot easier.
It's kind of funny too, coming from our background where we're doing a lot of web programming. When we're doing desktop apps, they're still event driven, so like we're actually kind of coming to something with like XNA with some added baggage. Like, I need to be able to go back when I was programming in QBasic and actually having to do loops and stuff,
Yeah. But that's good to hear. That's good to know that I can go back and yell at these kids of, like, damn it, there's no reason you can't learn this.
Yeah, no, man. I had a pretty good understanding just after about 2 months, and then, I mean, not to say I was a master or anything. At this point, after this year or so, I think I've got a very thorough grasp, and I think that if I took enough time at this point, I feel confident enough that I could actually make pretty much any real 2D game, I think.
Well,
I sat down to make it.
If you took away the graphics from Mute Crimson, although the graphic style works for the game and is very well done, but I think that will get you less eyeballs and people interested in checking it out, because unfortunately, there's a lot of games that have lower level retro or pixely art styles, and the games suck. Yeah. So you get lumped in with that even before they play your game. They're just like, oh, well, I'm not even going to play that game. But if you take away the graphics and the gameplay, I don't think I asked Dylan. I was like, I don't think I've ever said this about Mute Crimson, that the controls are loose, because the controls on Mute Crimson are tight and well done.
Yeah.
A lot
it's
of
been a while
times
since I've played it, so I don't even.
A lot of times I will complain about loose controls, and specifically what I'm usually complaining about is, like, when you're trying to run and do a jump that needs to be almost pixel perfect, especially in a difficult platformer, and you want to jump off the back foot of the player, but the developer is just checking the center of the sprite for whether or not you're on the ledge.
1-to-1.
And it feels like the button's late, It's like, wait a minute, the button's late is what the feel of the game is, but because I'm also a developer, I kind of see, like, hey, yeah, this is what you did. But I don't have that problem in Mute Crimson. Like, Mute Crimson controls really well and really tight. I mean, even through your double jumps and air control, it's fucking brutally demanding on pixel precision, but the controller, you can get that pixel precision, and fortunately the checkpoints aren't too far apart, so that you kind of like just try this 20 times. The 21st time you make it through, you can just keep playing on and getting on there. Are there only 6 levels?
Chapters.
There's six acts chapters. Yeah.
Okay, so
speed running it. I think it takes about 35 minutes to do if you're speed running and you never die, which is what I've done before.
Yeah, I don't know that. I want to see evidence of somebody else doing that. I saw the achievement in there for 35 minutes. What was my response on that? I think
it's cumulative. You can actually just redo one stage, and that'll count for the thing. You don't have to do it all in a row.
Oh, okay. So you just keep working down on your worst time, and then eventually you'll unlock those achievements. Well, that's kind of cool. You have a video up on your YouTube site, and I'll get a YouTube link in the videos on the show notes of our podcast. And on the video, you said how it was inspired by like Ninja Gaiden, and the classic NES Ninja Gaiden. And I totally see that. Like, that will come out in the review. That would have come out in the review whether or not you said that. And I'm glad I read that because you won't get pissed off that I said your game was like another game, which seems to be the fastest way to piss off an indie developer.
Well, it's tough to do because, it's especially like when you gloat over this feature that's new or you've seen this one other place that's been around forever,
And what's funny is that everyone that has gone off, without fail, it seems like, everybody that has gone off on me for saying your game is like an X or borrows from Y in a review, which I'm mostly doing for frame of reference. Okay?
Yeah, this is where I first encountered
Yeah, if I mention old school Ninja Gaiden, I'm trying to bring in the guy that played Ninja Gaiden so he understands immediately, he has a frame of reference. And then I can talk about the differences. But it seems like anybody that has gone off, the developers that have gone off on having their game related to something else, has always been in the positive light. Like, they couldn't step back and, like Antipole comes to mind.
Yeah.
Antipole features a gravity control mechanic as the central gameplay. And if you're in the indie scene at all, you've seen VVVVVV. So, of course I'm going to bring that up. And I just got nasty little grams, in email. And it's like, I gave your game a buy rating.
Yeah.
And I even said, like, where VVV does this, he does that, and takes it in a different way.
I'm a little bit more careful sometimes to avoid linking the two directly. I think the issue there was linking the two directly. And we're getting off on a subject that we may want to hold off on because we've got things to discuss.
Oh, you're talking about the Insanity X guy. No, we can go off on that right now.
Well, I was going to say, now, I actually when I wrote the review of Epic Dungeon, I actually said, this reminded me of Castle of the Winds. That's where I encountered it. I know the genre existed before then, but I was very careful to put that in there. For that exact reason.
I mean, Insanity X is fucking berserk. It is straight up berserk. And
we're doing this now.
We're doing this.
We're doing this.
All right.
Well, so yeah, you can go read the comments on the trial. The developer came in,
happening.
and actually, what was not. So the developer gets upset and accuses me of not doing research, and the review is shit because we didn't do research and everything else. But he doesn't do it as the developer. He posts as anonymous.
Well,
but he used publicly. He posted anonymously.
Yes.
Because we have the system, we see the back-end email address that was used through the comment system.
What's funny, the way he wrote it, I first read it, and he was nitpicking little things like, well, PCE means PC Engine, and all these little things that you'd only know if you were, hardcore into, that system or that genre.
Well, you didn't even have to look... yeah, so what you're saying...
And at the end, he goes... And I bought this game for $1, and it was so worth it. He didn't say it exactly like that, but
you read the comment,
so
and if you're a veteran of GameMarx, if you're an author or review author, you can smell the developer leaving a comment anonymously.
We've had this
a mile
happen
away.
Before.
This has happened several times before.
Yes.
And he had all those things, except he ended it with, and I bought this game for $1, and oh my god, what an amazing value! I can't believe it. But the thing is, he used an email address that didn't take too much Googling to find him on eBay using that email address with his name, that email address with his handle that he posts under, that email address with the name that he has on his webpage, So it was like, all right, you're the developer, dude. I don't mind if you get upset at what we say about your game. That's fair. That's valid.
Well, it was all...
But post that you're the developer. Come out and be honest.
Nitpicky stuff that we didn't that we didn't do the research because this was a review, and we clearly state that we do trials. There are far too many games for
I'm going to make that
everything.
a checkbox. Before we play this review, I accept the terms and conditions and understand that this is not, a GameMarx trial is not a review, but just somebody playing the 8-minute trial. Then he came back and posted as the developer, saying, "Oh, that wasn't me."
I had some people over that night.
No, we didn't get that far.
Later.
That didn't come up yet, because when he posted that, he posted all that. He used a different email address, but it was the same IP address, and that's why I'm like, dude, I see the email and the IP. Drop the act. That's all I wrote back. Just drop the act. I see it. and then came up with a story of, well, I had a party over at my house, and somebody must have grabbed my Wi-Fi, and it must have auto-populated my other email address into the field, and
even if it was someone
fucking
else,
coincidence.
Like, yeah, you at least like say that, hey, I know the developer or something. Don't.
Yeah, it. Then he sent out over Facebook messaging to all his buddies to come and AstroTurf, and look at this over here. So there was like 2 more posts in there, but we see the refers that they all come from Facebook messages.
Yeah.
Because Facebook does that little link redirect from a private message. We can actually know, like, hey, that didn't come from a Facebook page. That came from a Facebook private message.
We can't see any details.
And we
about
actually
where it came
found
from.
the guy's Facebook profile because of his friend following off of that. Like, I got more information on the dude than I could through Googling even when I had his full name.
It sounds so freaking creepy.
It is.
Where does he live, man?
Then I realized he fucking goes to Cleveland State right now, and he's like a 20-something.
Not Cleveland State in Tennessee.
Not Cleveland State in Tennessee.
'Cause I
Nobody
think
knows.
of that.
Nobody
I'll
fucking
be
knows
right
about
there.
Cleveland, Tennessee. If I say Cleveland, people think Ohio.
Oh, you do. Like if you're from like Chattanooga or Athens, you know about Cleveland State.
So he's like a 20-something. He's like a 20-something kid in college, and I apologize, Patrick, if this is your age as well. But as a 35-year-old guy who played
Fucking
Berserk
offend me.
when it came out on the Atari 2600,
Yeah.
fuck you for telling me that this is based on the arcade Berserk, not the 2600 Berserk, okay? Because your parents weren't even married at that time for you to be conceived. You only know about the arcade version of Berserk because you went to fucking Wikipedia.
Oh.
So that's what I have to say about that.
Well, it was funny because I remember playing Berserk on the 2600. I don't remember much about it, but my take on the whole game was like, I vaguely remember playing it. It wasn't my favorite Atari game, but I don't think like the mechanics of Berserk only like I go back and play it now. It's kind of like, this is really too tough for my tastes. The controls have evolved a lot since that time.
Well, yeah. So
And it was just funny. Like
to wrap this up, I don't want to dwell on this.
I wouldn't even done the video.
Yes.
Except you were like
You and
hardcore
Cicely
fan.
weren't interested in covering the video, and I'm Berserk fan. There's some 2600 games that just scratch an itch, and Berserk is one of them. And I was ready not only to review this game, I was gung ho about it. And now I'm kind of like, you know what? Fuck it. I got a review backlog a mile long.
Yep.
And yeah, don't worry about an unresearched review. And that's something else too. If you're gonna fake your own post, if you're gonna AstroTurf, okay, real gamers don't post what an amazing value for $1 this game is normally.
This is possibly the greatest game I've ever played.
That's normally not something they say.
You might say it, but you would not. Price would not come up if you know that many facts about the history of.
Yeah. Generally,
Berserk.
actually, what people say is things like, I would have paid $5 for this game. Generally, that's what actual gamers say if they say price.
$60 retail.
Yeah, I would have paid the
How
full
much
retail.
would you expect to pay?
Not $1.
And
not
generally,
$3.
gamers don't get upset that the review is shit because of the research of this other side game. Research to play the game has never made a game more fun. I'm just going to lay that out there for you right now. If I have to research the history for your game to be fun,
It's not.
it's not.
There are some people who keep on top of this stuff and are historians. We know what we played when we were kids, and that's kind of
If
where we
you
are.
want to dig at us, don't complain that your 5.1 surround system doesn't play on all channels from the video. That's because it's a stereo signal, you fuck. When you hit
fuck?
23, you'll work that out. And
you hit 23.
yeah. Well, when you graduate college, 22, 23, when you graduate college and have an education, then you can hook up your surround system to.
You can hear audio that someone recorded halfway across the country. What are you complaining about, kid? This is freaking magic. We live in the future.
But what are some of the great, no, since we're on the subject comments, like what are actual digs that we get? We've mispronounced kawaii. That came in today.
Yeah, that actually came up
I'm
this
like,
week.
it's kawaii. 2 eyes saying E. I know how to fucking say it. I took Japanese, god damn it, from an actual Japanese lady.
Yeah.
I can say it how she said it, and it's kawaii.
What else have we gotten?
I don't know. I can't think. I do remember there were a couple of...
Oh, you guys couldn't have bought the damn game. That was a nice one.
What was
Do I
that
get
one?
$2 every time I say emus?
No, but I'm waiting for James to send us the royalty requirements for using his music. We switched music. Yeah, we should get off this topic. We switched music, and I'm going to try to make sure the podcast this week opens up with the new music. I just have to get it edited and into where I can use it. And that did. James made that. So all the trials came out with our new theme song, which he did for us when I was complaining that Giant Bomb and all the other podcasts that we rip off have these really hard, edgy sounding
I don't think it's so much the sound. Like I do like the tone that the sound of the music sets, but the fact that it actually starts out with GameMarx like really brands it. Like I felt like the music we had on there was actually pretty good, but it was generic.
Apparently, the music is now 5 times louder than our talking.
Oh yeah, I probably need to drop it another level. I
Pump it
dropped
up a little bit more, actually.
I dropped it 6 decibels from what he sent me, and I may need to drop it another chunk because, it maxed out.
Yeah, I was gonna say you do that when you're recording something or working on something. Like, wow, this is so neat, this new thing.
Yeah, well, also this is the result of having the guy deaf in one ear produce all of the audio. I'm not exactly a good judge.
Maneuver.
I have to throw everything to mono to check the levels, so there's that.
On 4K hertz.
All right, so I'm gonna take this thread. I'm gonna see what Patrick's thoughts are here. There's a pretty long thread going in the XNA forums. This comes up though seasonally, I think. So this topic comes up quite often. But basically, our Xbox Live indie game developers devaluing the service by releasing everything at $1. Or if everybody just said like, "Hey, we're gonna price our stuff up at $3 and $5," everybody would start buying at $3 and $5. I'm gonna let Patrick be the first one to come in on that.
I don't know if it's like this $1 stuff and this super impulse buy stuff is kind of interesting. I buy a lot of stuff on Steam because it gets mega cheap. So I don't know. Usually you should start off higher and then lower down the price. But I think $1 is fine where we are now. I think it's just all Microsoft, honestly. They just drop the ball constantly with marketing this stuff. It's like
that's kind of my thoughts on it right now, is that this isn't a clean experiment because the download lists, the top sales lists favor units sold, not dollars grossed. So if you do a $3 or $5 price point, you have to sell 3 times or 5 times as many as the $1 game to get the same spot in best selling, and that's not right. If that was fixed, then and also that the area was marketed better, such that the top download lists weren't your really only hope for sales after the initial week, this might play in a little bit more. But I also think because of the platform, charging above $1 is dangerous because if you get into $5, you're equivalent to an on-sale XBLA title.
Yeah.
And you don't have leaderboards and achievements the way the other games do. You don't show up as a real game in the eyes of the gamer. So, I mean, that's a dicey proposition to say, hey, I don't offer what these other games do, but I'm going to charge as much.
Yeah, it's almost... I kind of think that the phone world, especially like the iPhone, has set that 99 cents as kind of the ideal. And so I think there are games that definitely deserve a $3 or $5 price tag. It's kind of tough because I think there are some games that devalue themselves, and I think there are some games, when I look at a $5 price tag, I'm like, okay, what makes you think you're so special? I mean, there's a certain level of self-awareness there that you have to go like, this may be a good game, and it is my precious little baby, but is it worth $5?
Is it
But whether that's devaluing, I can't say.
1 megabyte file, $5 price.
Oh man, size of game compared to quality, there is a ratio.
Yes. There is a ratio there. We see it all the time when we're downloading. We're like, oh, this is a 7 megabyte game. Why am I even bothering to trial this game?
Yeah.
There, although it's on the flip side, these Atari games that I love are like K, like I could embed that in the email, not attach it, embed that in the email, and it would be fine.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's something to be said for that. I think there's a lot more at stake. If you could monetize in different ways, I mean, if you could, allow in-game purchases, allow DLC, then that makes the dollar price point less of a pain, because it's really like, well, you want to get people playing the game, and then you want to make them buy Smurf berries, for example, or something, But there's no way to do that on Xbox Live Indie games, and Microsoft has really pushed it down, whether by intent or whether by neglect. They have pushed it down to the dollar price point. Because at one time, they had what was it? It was 5, 8, and 10. I think were the price points.
I thought it was like 3, 5, and 10.
Was it 3, 5, and 10? 10 was the high point. I remember.
They added a low point and they dropped off the high point.
Okay, and we had games up at $10 that were selling. I mean, there were guys putting games up there, and they were continuing to sell at $10. But Microsoft, like they said, they took that away and put in the lowers. They kind of pushed it all down so that you couldn't even. And I don't know how much of that again was intentional, or just neglect and laziness.
I think they should have kept the $10 price point.
Is somebody saying like, "Hey, we don't want an EA who's got an XBLA title in the works to get upset with Microsoft's certification process or Microsoft's other, like, we don't want to release your game at this time," to say, well, you know what, we're just going to go to Xbox Live Indie Games and run around you and release it. Now, we've all seen that doesn't work for anybody. Anytime a major studio has put out a game on Xbox Live Indie Games, it has gone horribly. And they have had a horrible time because the forums have been quite vicious when they come in to pass their game. It's like, well, you fail peer review, and they're like, what? Why? And it's like, yeah, these rules apply, and there's rules that apply to Xbox Live Indie Games that don't apply to XBLA and, that they get hung up on.
Well, because there's no ESRB rating, so
yeah, there's no ESRB rating. But I'm just talking about like the way, like some of our controller rules, like how you can pick up and play with and things like that. And that guitar controllers can be plugged in, and you still have to handle that situation. There's been regular Xbox disc title games that don't work with the guitar controller plugged in, and that passes through Microsoft certification. It doesn't pass through indie games, so these guys get frustrated because it's like, I have to go through all this extra stuff. They don't come back. Remember that tank game, Tank Battles?
Yeah.
That was Gameloft, I think, wasn't it?
Don't remember.
I don't remember. I do remember we played it for a video, I think.
Yeah, we did do a trial of that. It was one of the early trials that we did. But yeah, those guys never came back.
Tank Strike.
Yeah.
Tank Strike
is what Steg says.
If I can't play a game with just my my Xbox remote, like, I don't know, they have to get that shit into cert.
Yeah, I mean, if I pick up that remote, that's everything, right? If I got the wheel hooked up, if I go out and buy my wireless wheel, I want to play Mute Crimson with my steering wheel.
Mario Kart Wii remote. We gotta get that fucking compatible.
Yeah. I'm gonna skip
Price
this.
points are fucking weird though. Like I don't know. It's like Mad Ninja Skills here obviously had success at $10, but there's been didn't the rating games guy consider Crossfire that was $3 wasn't a good idea for that?
Well, Luke on Radiant Games, I think he said that he regrets not launching the games at the high price point.
Yeah.
That the idea that he had of, like, I'll launch them low and then slowly raise them over time didn't work for him. But he did mention on the one that he priced at the $3 price point was one of the worst performers, and maybe that was just, some things was in the game, but some things were also, like, it's not sticking to the downloads list and the top selling list like the other games did. Although, speaking of Luke, he's going to raise all his games to $5 on the 28th. That's Monday, isn't it? So on, well, let me check. Is that?
I have a feeling that if he had started those games off at like $5, like I don't know if he'd actually would have, like he might have been in 3-star hell if he had done that or something. I don't know.
I think it's Tuesday.
Yeah, that's true as well. I mean, it's difficult to know. I don't think any of his games crossed the $50 meg line, where they had to be $3.
I don't remember. I only played a couple of them, like trials of them. I think I did Joy Joy as a review.
You did Joy Joy as a review. I think we did Crossfire 2.
Furno is amazing.
1 week, yeah. I mean, they're really well refined, dual stick shooters. I think because they're, well, not exactly. I guess Crossfire in a traditional dual stick shooter, it's more Space Invaders than dual stick, but I just don't think they get enough looks, I think people just see it and they see Geometry Wars and they pass on by and they don't, because like even when we were talking about, we don't play those, right? Like we don't. We're not big dual stick shooter fans. We all like started demoing Ballistic and then just like got sucked into like 30 minutes of playing the game.
Oh yeah, like he does different things with the dual stick shooters just from playing Joy Joy versus Ballistic. Like,
yeah, there's a polish there that
super high quality.
And it's impressive. So it'll be interesting to see if he posts. He posted on his blog that he's selling 1,500 a month. So when he raises them all to $5, if he sells 300 a month, then he's breaking even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. That's a big drop to take. Is he going to go from 1,500 a month to 300 a month by raising the price? Because if he goes from 1,500 to say 600, he's doubled his cash.
Well, considering that he's talking about moving to other platforms, this may be a good experiment. Like you're not wasting any goodwill on jacking up your prices, and you can see how they do. So many variables. It's really hard to say.
It will be interesting. Speaking of price point, Cthulhu Saves the World, Breath of Death, together are coming to Steam. The date is finally set, July 13th, and the price point is $3 for both.
So there.
Dude.
Now you got a rule about announcing your game on Steam, Patrick?
No. It's just there's been several developers who hinted that they wanted to get their games on Steam, and I just think to myself, it's like I'm not going to buy it on XBLIG if I could get it on Steam, so I just wait, and then they complain about low sales or something. So I think there's a lot of people that on some forums and stuff that just completely avoid it. Like I know NeoGAF, like I go on NeoGAF a lot. There's tons of people.
I'm afraid to go on NeoGAF. We get links inbound, different comments, and I don't know. I heard just too many things about NeoGAF. I was like, I don't need to go on NeoGAF.
Place.
I don't have the kind of personality that can not post sometimes.
You would start flame wars.
Something awful.
Yeah,
it would be something awful. 4chan.
He would poke as many bears as he could.
Yeah, and so I mean, there's just things I don't do. I don't play MMORPGs anymore. I just don't have the personality that can turn some things off. And if I went down that path, there's no GameMarx. I'm not producing anything. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Those videos from last month, I'm not producing those right now. Someone on the internet is wrong. It's bad enough when it's our own site, But
then it's just fun. Then you have fun with it.
Well,
it's like a challenge.
then I get Dylan in chat and I say, okay, I can't go off on this guy because I don't want to look bad on our own site.
No, there was one time you chatted like, should I say this? And you were like, really driving home the point that this was the developer pretending to be someone else. I'm like, well, I would not be so harsh on that. Like, save that as your trump card.
I remember that.
But honestly, I just wouldn't post it at all. It's going to get ugly. And you're like, too late.
You took like 5 minutes to reply.
Don't you know you have to say no and then send the reason
I'm
why?
sitting there,
It's
guns
not as black
locked,
and white as
coat,
that.
Don't
cocked
care.
and locked and loaded. My finger is on post. I've already typed it up by the time I've said, should I do this?
The best thing was, like, you'd been, a week or two before I had added the feature where you could edit or delete comments. Like, there, it probably hasn't hit, like, feed burner. You can just make it go away. You can rethink it.
Yeah.
You don't want to sell me death sticks. You want to go home and rethink your life.
So, I didn't do good. I didn't do well this week. I got into it a little on the X&A forums.
Addicted to those forums, man.
I professionally stalk those forums. I don't post very much anymore. I really try not to post. I type up a lot of posts and I
used to
delete
do
them.
that for a while.
I just type
I
up
know
a
that
reply
feeling, like
and I
you're like,
delete it.
I want to post this, but
That's what I do on NeoGAF.
this is going to go places.
But a guy came in the forums and he asked if it was possible. He said, I just want to make this simple. Is it possible to change a button in the button state structure? Like, so you get the gamepad state and you want to set, but A is down, so you want to set it up. And Jim Perry came in, which Jim Perry can push my buttons in a heartbeat. I don't know why I can't.
Pun intended.
I don't know why I can't walk away from, like, when he posts something, and it has nothing to do with him being an MVP. It's the man. I don't know. There's something about the way he writes, the way he posts, just hits that, and I've got to go off. And
the voice you were hearing when you read.
He didn't ask why. He stated, what good would that do? Right?
Well, I mean, it is a valid question. Like, button state doesn't do anything until you do something with it.
Then the guy replies back with, like, whoa.
It's a struct.
Hold on, guys. I'm asking the question, can I do this or not? Like, I don't need the hate and the vitriol or whatever, that was, like, in Jim's post. And then, I think because Jim is an MVP and there's certain personalities in the forums, some people came back and they, well, you can't do this and you shouldn't be trying to do this. And, by the way, Jim, is right and you're wrong, as far as, like, him, doing it anyway. But, like, you go back and I look at the tone and I'm like, no, man. He didn't say, like, no. First of all, he could have answered it in a heartbeat, like, no, it's read only. Why would you want to? No, what are you trying to do?
Yeah, that's the important thing, because
it's
usually when someone's...
like I in my response, I said, no, but you actually can create a new game state object set to whatever you want. So you can't change an existing one, but you can create a new one and then set it to your state. And there's a whole bunch of people going like this is a stupid thing, but it's like, actually, the reason I know you can do this is that was my first thought, too, when I was looking at gamepad states of, well, I don't want somebody to press X and A at the same time, right? If you try to jump and swing your axe at the same time, I'm going to say jump wins, okay? And, it's like, if you're familiar with business code, it's common to, at the top of your function, validate all the input. And then that way you don't have to worry about, like, any kind of crazy conditions later on. You check for nulls, you check all the zeros, you check all the state of everything. So, it's like, I don't want two buttons pressed at one time. So unpress one and then let the function continue. So I posted that. But then I had to go in and I had to say, no, Jim's response was Nick Burns, I'm your IT guy. Just a stereotypical answer of, like, you don't know what the fuck you're at. You're just a stupid idiot, and you don't know what you're asking. And of course, like, that spawned more, and then of course I replied more, and I think within 4 posts got it locked.
XNA community is a leper colony. Like,
I've been good for so long, but I had a moment and fell off the wagon. There. Let's see. What else do I have queued up?
those people in the chat were talking reviews and how people don't test them. Pretty much true. Like I think that like 90% of the reviews that go through are just like, you pass me, I'll pass you, and that's how it's been every time I've done it.
You can hear us on several GameMarx trials where the game is decent because it made a trial.
Yeah.
But where we start off a trial of, hey, I can't play with multiple... This was Insanity X. I can't play with multiple controllers. Only the first controller worked.
Yeah.
That is like a basic fail. I mean, it's like I hit start.
It's a minor inconvenience, but you compare a game that does that and you compare a game that doesn't do that. And,
yeah,
it's one
title
of those
safe.
details.
I mean...
Title safe is a big deal.
We're hitting a lot of title safe to where, because we record over component video... We're getting a 720p, and we're doing it over component, right? Or over composite.
Component, probably.
Yeah. Composite would be
red,
like your...
blue, and green cables.
Right.
Composite is shit.
Yeah. Because we're doing it over those and not HDMI, because HDMI recording solutions are crazy-ass expensive and marginally better for what we're doing. You know, it's going to end up on YouTube, you know?
You don't got your Intensity Pro? What the heck, man? No.
Have you not heard me go off about that, or are you poking that flame?
No, I haven't heard about this. What happened? What?
Oh yeah, no, I bought. I've sent back both the Intensity Shuttle and the Intensity Pro.
You kidding me? I never got one.
Those things are pieces of shit, and they require such a specific hardware configuration. Even the USB one requires specific Intel cards to work.
What?
So what those guys do, those devices don't have any encoders built on them. So when you record 1080, right, it is pushing raw, uncompressed frames over to your computer. So you need to have the memory and the CPU and the bandwidth to handle native 1080, 60 frames a second uncompressed. And then, of course, you have something, writing to disk that fast, and you have something probably compressing.
You have enough disk space.
Yeah, you have enough
What are you
disk
guys
space.
using now?
So what we actually do now is a Hauppauge PVR.
I was looking at those. I was wondering if those are good, so I'm guessing
And
they are.
it'll do 720 at 60 frames progressive. We're doing 60 frames progressive. Either 30 or 60, but it's progressive. It's not interlaced, which is important when you want to edit and cut video. It'll do 1080i, but if you're interlaced, your cuts are going to look horrible. And it will let you set the bit rate on the H.264, so it has a hardware H.264 encoder built in. So, I mean, you can hook it up to the oldest laptop over USB, and it'll record, and it'll save the file fine.
Hardware based, yeah. I used to do a lot of encoding and stuff. Yeah.
It'll let you crank up the bit rate to 13 megabit per second encoding. And
sounds reasonable.
Just for comparison's sake, Vimeo, if you go to Vimeo, which has great quality, their recommended is 5 megabit per second. So even though we're editing, we have much better source material than our final version, so it can survive a second encoding and not lose quality. And it looks great. It does. I mean, I look at the raw H.264, and I'm happy with it, and it's been hassle-free. And the best thing is, if it dies on me, it's $160, $170.
Yeah, it's not.
Go down to Best Buy, grab another one, and we're right back up and running. Versus special mail order or Intensity. I work at a television station, so I've gone through. I work in the digital media group, and this is one of the things that our group does and deals with is encoding and streaming and all this stuff. I'm a developer on the team, though. That's not my expertise. I'm kind of the software guy to help these guys get software to work with some of the systems. But I can go into these guys and say, hey, I'm looking at this, and they can come back. And, they've liked it. So didn't mean to get too far off on topic, but that's...
Title safe.
That's what we're using. The title safe area. because we're over cables now, we're not over HDMI, comes a factor, and like some of the instructions and text are off the screen, even in our videos on the web. Because
they're not as bad on videos, so you can't see them. Like, but and we all have flat screen TVs that we're playing them on, and we even get some of the issues for the fail safe on some of them. And it's
so the state of reviews is pretty poor right now. Well,
I wouldn't say it's poor. There's some good games that get through. It's just there are also some.
Well, some of the games lately from Silver Dollar Games.
Oh God.
Also known as Gold Digger Games on this podcast. They don't seem to have a clear separation between what is trial and what is the game.
No.
When we say we play all games every week, we play all games every week. Even if it's not a game, we'll pop it in and check it out just to say we did. And, so we pop these out, and the game this week, the hide and seek.
Hide and scare.
Hide and scare, yeah. So you put up an image on the screen, and then you push a button, and it makes a loud, scary noise and passes up an image. That's all it does. And it's like, okay, games are required to have a trial experience, so...
That one actually does have a trial experience. It just cuts out some of the effects.
But...
It's not...
Yeah, it's...
I gotta give them credit, at least. The last couple of games I've played by them are thinking outside the box. The idea is maybe not great, and the implementation is also not great, but...
Well,
they're trying to do something different.
It's... As I play these games and I look at the review, I'm like, there's so many things this thing should have, but instead, there's a new Silver Dollar Games almost every week. Those things are getting through rather fast, rather easy. I'm not directly accusing of anybody of, tit for tat, but I do know when you go in and you have a game in review that it's much easier and you get the same amount of cred to go in and review a Silver Dollar Games game than you do for, say a platformer. It's like, oh, you're going to play that platformer for a couple hours. You're going to pop in Silver Dollar Games for 15 minutes and be
15
done.
seconds.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Quickest. In and out, baby.
And
that may be
checks off another game, and you move up the list.
Quicker to develop, quicker to review.
Yeah. So, it's kind of unfortunate, but...
XBLIG is legitimate as fuck.
And
that would be a great tagline for the service.
Back to our other conversations about not, the pricing and everything. It's like you got to look around. Like you're not going to stand out. It's hard to stand out. So don't try to charge $5. Look at the sea that you're in. And
yeah, actually, like looking at the range of games that are on there, I think $1 to $5 is a perfectly acceptable price range. It's just where certain games fall is probably not accurate.
Yeah.
Fuck
but...
Kotaku. No. We gotta get that in there somewhere.
Yeah, we gotta get to a fuck Kotaku. They did. I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast. Did we talk about on the podcast last week that on the Kotaku list? I think we did. We did talk about on the Kotaku list was Silver Dollar Games. Why did I buy this game?
Yes.
Which is a game that does nothing but make you try to guilt you into buying the game, and then does nothing. Like gives you a screensaver or something.
I can't wrap my mind around like they figured out what they're doing, and they don't care like that.
No, it's pretty clear they don't care. And for the record, I have asked Jonathan Fluke to come on the show. I would love to have him on the show and talk. And I don't know if he checks out or he listens to us. He may or may not. But if he does listen to us, no, I'm not going to grill any developer that comes on the show. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, why do you release bad games? No. I actually want to have like an honest conversation of like, because he has... He has Blow and some of these other great games. Well, I'm sorry, Patrick, what was that?
Didn't the Silver Dollar Games guys make legitimate games for like a little bit?
Yes. If you go back in the service, Blow is really a high art, wonderful little puzzle game. And there's about 4 of them. And I think those are the ones that are actually under Jonathan Fluke. Like those are under his own name.
Yeah. It's branding.
Before
you've got your like low.
He didn't want to taint his name.
Yeah, like it's companies that are manufacturing a product and they have some things that don't quite meet QA, so they put it under a lower quality
name.
Except
I wonder.
Most of their stuff.
I wonder because on the Giant Bombcast E3, the third day episode, about 2 hours in, is a mention of Arcadio, the studio, which has some deals with big publishers. I think it was a little like NDA slip moment or something by some guys that were talking. You know, it was late at night, but a marble puzzle game or something. They were talking about Magic Marble or I don't know.
I've not heard anything.
It was they're like making a sequel to it, and it sounded like that was the game that they were on. And they were like, you know, who's doing it? And it's like this French studio, Arcadia Swap. They made these excellent Xbox Live indie games, you know, that are on there, the Arcadia series. And like some of the other developers spoke up in the chat on the E3 podcast of like, yes, we know those guys. Those, of course, we talked about Shuggy last week. I'm continually hearing little stories here and there. Yes, these guys did not have good commercial success on Xbox Live indie games, but it totally opened a door for them. It totally... Developers and publishers are watching. You can get some interest by pointing to a body of work on Xbox Live indie games and say, like, look, this is the stuff I've done. It hasn't done commercially well there. These publishers are aware of, you know, the realities of Xbox Live indie games and the cesspool, or what was the tagline?
Legitimate as fuck.
Legitimate as fuck. They are aware that XBLIG is legitimate as fuck, and willing to give the benefit of the doubt. And you know, it's like you get to step up a little bit. You know, as an indie studio, that's kind of cool. And I've seen that working. And so I wonder if the
XBLIG
reverse
is great hobbyist stuff. It's great as like a stepping stone.
It is. It's a great place to start. And I wonder if the reverse is true, though, that the Silver Dollar Games and Jonathan Fluke, he is capable of making some good games. He has made some good games.
No doubt.
But his brand isn't anything a publisher is interested in looking at, you know? It's like, well,
yeah,
you know, you're doing these knockoffs. Maybe Zynga Games might pink up the phone and then like, hey, we want you to make Smurf berries.
And the thing is, like, if you go through the right contacts, you know, if you use that experience and use those contacts, you know, you get a publishing deal. You don't have to make those one-off games. I don't know. It may be a personal decision. Like he actually enjoys it. It may be that going through a third-party publisher would be more strict for, you know, review purposes and things like that. And it's just, you know, here he has more control and it's not as stressful. You know,
it is. But I wonder because he sent that. Honestly, it was too long. I didn't read it, but. He sent that press release to all the gaming sites going
Manifesto.
on. But he did say, like, he's not making a killing on this stuff.
Oh,
but,
yeah, I mean...
they kind of like the idea. He does like, and this is why I like to have him on, he does like the idea of, if you come up with an idea, like, wouldn't it be stupid if somebody did this? He likes being able to, like, yeah, I can go do it and it's done.
Yeah.
You know, some of them we've been interested in. The guy jumping off the building.
Well, there's
we almost bought that one.
Like I said, with Hide and Scare, and even I guess with Why Did I Buy This Game? There's this like seed of an idea that's, you know, it's not quite there.
You're giving Why Did I Buy This Game a little bit more credit.
It's neat until you see the, you know, they're just using stock photos of women, and you're like, okay, that ruins it. Like that's. It just makes you look cheap.
Speaking of other places to go, ours had a good article up on Adult Swim as the best publisher for indie games.
That surprises me.
You know,
no, they're legitimate.
Oh yeah.
Now they're looking for, obviously, you know, if you look at the Adult Swim games, they want something interesting. But they want solid and playable. You know, that they said on there, you know, like, it needs to be solid, it needs to be playable. That's what we're interested in. And
well, they're paying, right? I mean,
Yeah,
mean, they're
paying,
advertising these things,
and they're
all
advertising
over.
them. I mean,
so they're putting money into it.
And what's beautiful about their model is they're not interested in selling the games, right? They're trying to get people to their web portal. They're trying to get views on the advertising. They want you coming, checking out the site, joining in the forums, participating. They want a captive audience so that they can get more revenue for their advertisers. And it's one of those interesting scenarios of like, well, now, you know, obviously I'm sure they're going to pay something based on how much activity your game does. You know, like if your games are consistently getting more plays than the other games, they'll probably do something. But it's not a channel where you publish a game and then try to sell it to customers.
Right.
If your game is out there and interesting, it's pretty much free to the customers, right? Like, unless they iPhone your game and then I think they sell it.
Yeah, they have iPhone a couple games. It just surprises me that you can make money from that. I mean, that almost seems
look at
like
Congregate.
What? Oh,
What about Congregate? Like, I wonder how that works out for some people. Like, I think you get money off of that.
Yeah. That's a similar, system.
For some reason, it surprises me that it works for Adult Swim, given how much airtime they spend advertising it. Like, this feels like something that would have popped with the Web 1.0 bubble, you know?
But at the same time, like, getting people to watch ads now, right, is not easy. And so if you have everybody coming to play Lesbian Spider Queens from Mars...
It's just an extension of their little text advertising for everything, because you read those because they're funny as hell half the time.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to go play, you know, the Unicorn game or the Queen game, and there's a flash ad for Old Spice or a flash ad for, you know, Dos Equis or something, that's worth a lot to those marketers, because it's really hard to get people to watch ads right now. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I watched live TV. You know, like TV with all that commercials. I watch Hulu. Hulu has like one ad at most. Yep. If I'm not watching everything on Netflix, and you know that's not counting the stuff that gets like torrented. Because you know I just didn't feel like DVRing it, so I'm just going to torrent it and catch it later. You know, like all the Doctor Who's. And things like that. It's like,
there's a lot of Doctor Who on Netflix. It keeps recommending it to me.
Well,
I could go there.
If you're up on the current stuff,
Torchwood.
I mean, you can't watch the current stuff yet on Netflix. But
I mean, what is normal TV? Like 8 minutes of commercials for every 30 minutes?
Yeah,
like it's fucking ridiculous.
It's
like,
funny.
No
22 minutes is 22 minutes is the official runtime for a sitcom.
Yeah, you
and
go
just think, 2 years ago it was just it was 24 minutes to a sitcom. Yeah. We keep losing 2 minutes every couple of years.
Well, it's really obvious when you go on Netflix and it's like, play next episode, 43 minutes, you know, for an hour show. Like, you know, you can't hide that there.
So, I think it's a good thing. I think if you're out there and, you know, maybe you want to get on Steam, of course. You know, like Steam's a great service. You get a lot of exposure out of that, you know, and it's going well. But if you're not getting on Steam, or if you're looking for other options, as an indie developer looking to take the next step, you did some X and A things, now you want to do some more, take a look at Adult Swim. Try to get in touch with those guys. I don't know if there's anything in the Ars article, which we'll link to from the show notes, as far as... direct contact. I mean, they do have a link in the article to submission guidelines, so I think they're going to tell you, you know, the only thing they don't want is, you know, kiddie games and completely unoriginal. You know, like you just can't. Fortress Craft need not apply, basically, is what that's saying. And they don't want show-based games either. They don't want you to pitch a game to them based on any IP they have in the show. They want just something different.
They kind of keep those separate. I don't know.
Do they got internals to do that? Do they have any of their own games? I don't know.
Well,
I can't remember when I've seen any ads. For
yeah, and I don't think they want to be seen as like
but...
encouraging people to screw with their IP and trademarks. You know, and almost like enter like an unspoken contract of like, you know, well, I went and I made this awesome Aqua Teen Hunger Force game, and then you turned it down. Well, I'm going to go sell it over here, you know, and it's like, well, no, you can't because we own the IP to that. And then you get into, you know, just
that 12-ounce mouse IP, like, must be a gold mine.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
I think Brack is the really true untapped IP of Adult Swim.
Oh yeah.
I love Brack. I miss
Space Ghost Coast to Coast forever, man.
I watched it.
I liked Brack on his own show more than...
Yeah, that was solid too. I like the Brack show.
I
Show
miss
ended
Zorak
way
as
too
well.
soon. Of course, then Aqua Teen Hunger Force went on forever, and I just don't like it as much as
they finally
some
stopped
of those classic
running
episodes.
They finally stopped running home movies, but that was one of my favorite.
Yeah, that wasn't an Adult Swim original.
Was it not?
Really?
Was it
think
something
so.
a lot bought?
I don't think, I may be wrong about that, but I want to say that because there were a couple others. They ran Mission Hill, they ran the Oblongs.
Yeah, Mission Hill and the Oblong were not originals.
Baby Blues was on there.
Basically, any sitcom in the '90s that tried to ride
The
Simpsons
was there.
that got canned, has been on Adult Swim.
I miss old school Adult Swim.
Was Clerks ever on there? The animated series?
Yes, they did do the animated
they did a
Clerks.
short run of.
There was only
6
a short run of
episodes.
Well, yeah, but
that show didn't run that
I
long.
want to say that was Adult Swim. May have been someone else.
I miss when they ran better anime.
Adventure Brothers.
Adventure Brothers are good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the only show they got with like an animation budget.
Um,
Then the Boondocks.
well, and I love Super Jail.
Really, that's one of those that's you either love it or
You
hate
either
it.
love it or hate it. I can
I'm
see that.
okay with it. It's kind of like Squidbillies.
Psychedelic violence. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good example. Squidbillies is okay. It's
Squidbillies
weird.
grew on me. I didn't watch
Yes.
Squidbillies when it came out, but after enough of I'm waiting between South Park wrapped up and Super Jail or something to come on later. Although, good God, they could fucking take out and shoot Tim and Eric
Yes.
and
yes.
make
yes.
that a
Fucking
show.
God.
Make that a show.
A public execution.
fucking
hate that
show.
And I would watch that in reruns.
And desecration of their corpses. And then what the hell
What'd you think
was?
of Tom Goes the Mayor?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
anything.
Same-
anything
yeah.
those guys have done.
I hated the Tim and Eric show, but I kind of like Tom Goes the Mayor.
Yeah, I
Kind
mean
of.
it
No.
was. I was okay with it.
This is too much information.
What's weird is the Tim and Eric show is
I'm
just
blacklisted now.
on drugs.
Not quite, but you have dropped from the realm of God.
They get so many stars.
As long as you
Damn.
didn't like what the hell was the bad CG one?
No,
Oh.
Xavier.
Xavier.
Yes.
That is the most abysmal.
My
It's by the guys who did Wonder Chosen, I think, on MTV too. Wherever the show was, it was like some cult favorite show.
Oh,
I don't
was
know.
it? So
Yeah.
seems like
I
what a
see
lot of
something
those
like
shows
that,
are
and I'm
going
like,
for.
why the fuck can't we be on the damn adult? If you're gonna put shit like that,
Yeah,
on,
essentially, 12. You guys seen 12-ounce Mouse?
I
It doesn't get any worse.
I
It
do
just
remember
doesn't.
that went away pretty quickly, but
Yeah. 2 episodes. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was bad news.
Oh, all right. Last thing I have on my news deck here is that some of you may have seen this before. EXEN is finally got a preview release, which EXEN allows you to write XNA and ideally port it to iOS and Android. The initial, what I guess that the bits were that were released today, I think, allow you to port to iOS. So you can write an XNA and run on iOS. So I kind of need to justify this
it
MacBook
efficient?
Air. The MacBook Air that I ran out and bought so I could do iOS development and haven't
and then
done
you looked
any.
at Objective C and no.
Stanford helped on that. I started taking the Stanford classes, and those little fuckers, yeah. But,
It didn't help you learn the language. It helped you build a distaste for it.
well, it wasn't so much Objective-C. I wouldn't,
Objective-C, man.
that wasn't so bad. What it was is I got sidetracked into checking out Unity, checking out GameSalad,
Yeah.
checking out, all these frameworks you can get for iOS, which sadly lack. I mean, there's not enough, there is in the iOS world. You can run down the list of 30 different options. The guy at work is checking out Lime.js, and Lime.js lets you write HTML5 games. And there's another package you couple with it. If you probably Google Lime.js, you'll find it, which will then take your HTML5 JavaScript and turn it into an app. And then so you could write in JavaScript and then have your app and then cross compile it to iOS and Android, and as far as user knows, it's a native app. I mean, they don't know the difference. But this looks promising because I wish Microsoft would realize that Silverlight and XNA in particular aren't doing as well as they would like because they're limited to where they can run. If XNA ran on what people actually use, iPads, iOS's, Androids, BlackBerry, hell, throw that in there, Mac, like if it reached more on there, that framework would be hella popular. But right now it's like, if you're choosing to do a game, you either choose to do, let's say, like Unreal or Unity 3D, and you get to hit every platform but
Windows Phone.
And you're like, well, I don't give a shit about Windows Phone. Like, that's not a reason to change platform.
That's actually a good point. Like, I think we had a discussion about this, that we're in a market that basically the best development tool is not going to win. The development tool that reaches the most platforms is going to win, because especially with phone apps, like if you have just an iPhone app or just an iPhone and just like if you don't hit all 3 or 4 platforms, someone's feeling left out. I mean, I know when I had a BlackBerry, especially before I got a Droid,
BlackBerry's suffering too. I don't know if you saw this week, Seismic announced they're going to drop their client for BlackBerry.
What did?
Seismic Twitter client. They're like, we're no longer
use that,
messing with BlackBerry. So I mean, that doesn't bode well. But this is good to see. I mean, this is good. So it's it ports, it says, to Silverlight as well, I think. So you might be able to run it in the browser with Silverlight.
I mean, how efficient is it? Like, is this bad news? Like,
that's always my wondering. When you see something like this, is A, what's the efficiency on it? What's the performance going to be? And B, what's the feature set? Can I get 3D up and running in Silverlight, or is this like Silver Sprite and I can run 2D but no 3D? And in which case it's like, well, I don't know that I needed that. I guess maybe if I was making a platformer or something like that, but you're probably in Silverlight going to want to build a puzzle game, and in which case the XAML language is quite capable of, events-based programming is not that bad to, you don't need a game loop for that. So,
yeah, I wouldn't bet on Microsoft ever branching that stuff out themselves. So I don't think that's how they're going to be heading.
No,
they're locking shit down more than they're going to open it up.
They seem to be. I keep saying I'm going to do this post, and I haven't done it, but Microsoft is building their own walled garden. But unlike the Apple walled garden, it's a bunch of rotting plants that you're trapped in the inside with. It's not a wonderful, like, I don't mind I lost freedom. It's wonderful here. It's more of like a fenced garden, or
XNA isn't a bad platform. I would say it's more a cramped garden.
Well,
like,
no, that's
they don't have enough space.
I've worked a lot, obviously, with XNA, and I have worked a lot with Silverlight, and these are fucking awesome. They are both fucking awesome, and these teams deserve a lot of credit. And because they're at Microsoft, and Microsoft doesn't want to promote certain things, and they want to lock in to their platform more than they have in recent years, these guys are suffering. These platforms.
Phone is all about lock-in.
Yeah, and
if you're hitting the mobile market,
granted, I can't tell you. It's like, well, if they put XNA as first class on iPhone, right? Or if they did a cross compiler like a Mono Touch, or like this XN is doing, I can't tell you what the return on investment is there, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell you how you would make money doing that. The only thing I could tell you is that, well, if you keep them on XNA, and it's just another build step to make a Windows Phone 7 game,
you get
then
more apps.
They'll be making more apps for your platform. But if you try to play this game of chicken, you've already lost. Nobody really cares about the Windows platform at the moment, because,
and hey, even
it
if
still
you
dominates desktop. I mean, you still have desktop gaming. But when you go to the desktop, it's like there are so many choices you could use to write a desktop game. It's not really a factor. at that point. And
it's going to run on everything it needs to run on anyway.
Yeah, so that's not a strong case. Xbox Live Indie Games is not a case for the Xbox, and the Windows Phone 7, it doesn't have the market penetration to be attractive, so it's hard to make the case.
But man, that money could go into that Connect Fable game, man. I mean, come on.
Hey, what the hell happened to Milo?
It's in Peter Molyneux's walled garden. You know what I'm saying?
Is that what we call his insanity, his mental condition? That's how you refer to it as Peter Molyneux's walled garden. No, he's just in his walled garden right now. It's okay.
Peter Molyneux cannot get any more legit. Like, he's just a steep decline. It just keeps happening.
You know, but he'll come back. I think he's the kind of guy that, you know, he's not connected to reality, so he's kind of like
I think he'd have to.
The director. I'm trying to think of Nightmare Before Christmas.
No more Fable. If he's never going to have a hit.
Danny Elfman. No, Danny Elfman does the music.
Wes Craven.
Not Wes Craven. Nightmare Before Christmas.
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton. He's like Tim Burton. There's going to be some bad stuff, but
thought Nightmare on Elm Street.
The dude is insane, of a different caliber, of a creative caliber, and so he'll come back one day with something wildly new, and you know he'll be relevant again. I think him staying on Fable this long, you don't want to do that to Peter Molyneux. It's like, no, you gotta let this guy go off and create something wild and crazy. Don't try to franchise him, because
Fable seems like it's running its course. Like, I played the second one, and I'm not that interested.
New IP scares the shit out of Microsoft or something. Like, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Well, they've let game development cost so much lately. You know, the major studios spend so much money behind a game, then it becomes a risk analysis of like, well, if you make a sequel, it's going to sell X number of copies. We know this. You know, it's going to sell some value. If we take a risk on new IP, it may horribly bomb.
Yeah. If you figure in graphics and like even some of the crazy Kinect stuff that they showed off at E3, like, in order to maintain that level of wow factor, it's gonna cost you.
Yeah. So
anyway,
I don't know. We'll see. There wasn't anything announced at E3. There's no games I'm really crazy.
I don't know. Dark Souls I'm looking forward to.
What's that?
Dark Souls I'm looking forward to. It's a sequel to Demon's Souls, a pseudo sequel.
I need to play that. I've heard a lot about it. I haven't played Demon's Souls yet. I actually, since we're off wild rambling, I've been playing Alice.
Oh really? How's that?
Well, I haven't played the new one. So I played Alice when it came out, and I got Alice for Father's Day, and the first thing I did was go download the original, and I mean that game was fucked up. The original is fucked up, but it's such a departure from the normal. I enjoyed the hell out of it, and full well knowing how fucked up that game is, I'm replaying the entire game, getting just as pissed as I did the first time. You know, it does some things really well and some things really poor, but I don't know, man. American McGee, like I'll pick up any of his shit that he puts his name on. Like, you know, he's another one. It's like more art style with him and kind of level design interesting than maybe new gameplay concepts. But yeah, I don't care. But I'm a sucker for that. You know, we've established that. Like,
Alice and Shadows of the Dam just one came out basically back to back. Kind of oddball stuff. Looks pretty good. Shadows of the Dam's getting high reviews. Well, fairly high.
I've got all the Assassin's Creeds to play still on my backlog.
Yeah.
I've got what was it? What was the Jack Black game?
First Assassin's Creed, man. Fucking not very good. Sorry.
I've heard that. So I haven't touched or looked at any of the ones that followed it, so that I might have a chance to get through it, so that at least I feel like I've played the whole series. Because I really feel at this point like I want to play the series of the games. Some games I feel that way, some I don't. Like, I didn't feel like I needed to play any Grand Theft Auto before I played 4.
But you want to follow the storyline.
But Assassin's Creed's, when I hear people talk about it, they talk about the continuing plot. And, it's like, okay, well, I need to go back and play all those. But that didn't work out for Metal Gear for me. I went to Metal Gear Solid. I did 1, 2, and I lost interest around 3.
And you never...
Did you play any of 3, or did you just...
Yeah,
stop?
I played up into, you have a headache, so she sleeps with you in the woods.
Yeah.
Like, that's the last,
I've never played any of the Metal...
There's a few scenes after that where I'm sneaking around fences and stuff. And that's kind of where I slowly got bored and quit playing, and I tried to pick it up again, and that's the kind of game like, oh shit, I don't remember what I was doing.
You gotta do it one go.
Yeah, I can't remember why I was doing this.
Probably the best one.
Which one?
I'd say MGS3.
I've heard that from several people, and it's sad that this is the one I lose interest on.
Yeah.
And I played them
if
back
you were
to
playing
back.
them all in a row, I wouldn't do it.
I have 4 to play. We have I bought 4 because I haven't played a damn thing on the PS3 that we've owned for 2-3 years now.
I'm a PS3 primary person.
Are you really?
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting.
Wow.
I don't
For
actually
more than
have
Blu-rays?
I guess I'm not PS3 primary. I guess I'm PC primary, and then PS3 for the console. Whenever I can't get it on PC.
Wow, I'm
Probably 360.
I hate that
primary.
controller.
I used to be much better with that controller, and he bought the PS3 for me because I wanted to play Final Fantasy. But by the time Final Fantasy came out, I was sucked into achievement whoring, and I didn't want it.
Yeah, so she accepted the lower video quality of the Xbox's Final Fantasy for the achievements. But it doesn't matter because that game was shit.
Yes, it was, and
It didn't look too good.
it doesn't matter because the quality was better than 7, which was my favorite. So anything better than that,
All right.
it's good enough video.
Before this podcast hits 2 hours, we should
Releases.
start our new releases because we have a shit ton.
Yes.
Can I say one thing?
This week.
Yes.
So
Say one thing.
feel free, Patrick, if you want to chime in at any point on any of these. So
but
now
I
it
just
is.
want to say that. Oh, sorry.
Oh, good.
I
Go
want to
ahead.
say that I'm playing Vanquish by Platinum Games right now, and I would really highly recommend. It's just dropped to 20 new, and anyone who enjoys a good action game, I check that out. It's for both systems.
Okay, Vanquish.
I don't usually pimp out games, but it's some good stuff. Bayonetta, the people.
Oh, there's another game I didn't finish. But wait a minute. You have to understand, I don't play fighting games. And
Vanquish
people
does
like
have
sent me
first-person.
messages like when I was playing Bayonetta on Xbox, like, dude, why did you buy this game? Don't you know what this is? And it was like, yes, I know what this game is. I just need to see how absurd it gets. And I got up to the point where the little god face thing, like you were in a multi-level, like you were in some rock face or something, like looking out. So you were almost in like a castle or something.
Yep.
And this weird god face thing was like upside down or something, and I didn't figure out the trick. I'm not
I could be
sure.
wrong.
I didn't figure out the trick to like take this boss down.
Having not
but-
played this sounds absolutely freaking
Well,
crazy.
there's something with a sexually repressed librarian figure, right, who gets stronger the more clothes that come off. Like your best move, she's completely naked with just like her hair covering the naughty bits. That's it.
I think that something has a name.
Yeah.
I mean, action game is by far my favorite. Like, I beat Ninja Gaiden Black on Master Ninja and such.
I had
And Bayonetta, beyond being just fucking crazy, is also very competent, too.
I had to take Ninja Gaiden back. I love the NES versions. I got the new modern ones. I think I got about an hour into it, and I was like, you know what? GameStop lets you just take these damn things back. So, because it was like a used one. So, but then you know what? Hey, if you want to hate on me in chat, I took back Oblivion.
Anyway.
I got to the trial or the tutorial of Oblivion, and I was like, you know what? No, it's going back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have Oblivion, but I pretty much had that same experience, but that's just because never took the time to get into it. I might try another time someday, but
It's just such
It
a rough start.
doesn't age well,
You're
though.
going through the sewers,
Yeah.
and then you come out.
I didn't get through the
All right,
tutorial. And
before
I
we
said
get too much
forget it.
further.
Yeah.
Now it is
All right, let's
time
rock.
for our new releases of the week. New releases ran from Friday the 17th to Thursday the 23rd. Our first one up, I don't think any of us played. Paintball Splashes of Fun?
Nope.
Nope.
It
It
requires
requires two players, and
you
it
really
looks
have
like
a
it's going to be a
chance.
low-level paintball thing
Yeah. What kind of
from it.
one to
So,
get.
overhead view from the screenshots, I guess.
was it an
I don't know.
overhead? Okay,
I
well, it was the
couldn't
other
tell.
one.
I
It
don't
was
wanna-
there was the other first-person shooter
Yeah.
that we didn't
That
play this
was
week. We'll get to
multiplayer.
that. So, yeah, just, make a single player, make a bot, something, at least check out the game. Next one up is Mad Blocker Arcade. And, Dylan, you had asked if this was a sequel.
Yeah, I
Let me
want to say I
see if the
remember
developer
something
links
like this
in.
before. It's basically a match 4 game. It actually reminds me of, here again, like if I knew more games, this would probably help to describe it. It reminded me of that Dr. Lee's Extreme Beam Machine or whatever.
That we had from like a week or so ago?
Yeah, you're
No, I don't see...
you're matching 4 colors and they don't have to line up. They just have to be touching.
The faces look familiar, but... I'm not seeing that this is a sequel to one on the service. That doesn't mean there isn't one out there before.
I swear I've seen it
pulled.
before. Maybe I just saw a like in development screenshot or something. Somewhere.
It didn't grab me though. Like it didn't do anything
How does it play?
unique to play. So you do
Closest
a
to-
match 3. So you are having blocks come down. And you do a match 3. On this one, when you drop the blocks, they fall all the way down. So you can't like Tetris stack them up. If there's not a block underneath, it will fall down, and it will do diagonal type run matches as well.
Yeah,
So
you
it doesn't
can
have
turn
to be
corners.
in a line. It will turn corners and follow that out. There was like a bomb power up or something come down in the later levels where it would blow away a certain color or something. But I mean, there's a lot of match 3 games out there, and it didn't do anything to stand apart. It looks graphically entertaining,
very nice,
but it didn't stand apart. So our next one here is Kung Fu Fight, and we did a trial video of this one to be coming up next week. So this started out from the name and the way it starts out and the 8-bit graphics. I thought this was going to be a NES Kung Fu game, but it's actually a force scroller, Impossible
playtested
Game
this.
style.
Yeah.
Time your jump.
it's actually a little more complicated than most force scrollers, and it's got a nice style, but that's basically what it is.
It does more than most, and it is a little bit more
Yes.
enjoyable than most. Like it's
It's
not the
got-
same. Like okay, every time you see this, you'll duck, and every time you see this, you'll jump. It does mix them up. You do fight guys. You have a punch.
There's
So
more than
instead
one
of-
approach to doing
Yeah.
certain things.
So even though
And there's jokes.
Yeah, it's alright.
yeah. There's
Yeah.
achievements.
you can
for them.
jump kick and jump punch, so like there's combinations that start to work in. Played the trial a couple times, so I don't know how far it'll ramp up, but it does seem to get more interesting as it goes on and mix it up a little bit more. So for a scrolling platformer, which if you just told me that's what it was, I would be interested. It's like, yeah, okay, I got it.
Again, like the previous game, not really our thing, but
Yeah, it's not my thing, but this one, could be an exception to the rule. I think this is the other one that I was thinking of that we didn't play. Fredrikasel Assault.
yeah. I loaded this up, and it's a kind of outdoors first-person shooter. I couldn't really figure out what I was supposed to do, but I think it is. I think it's like a team-based thing.
Good sign.
It doesn't look bad. It's just, I don't know. You have to have people to play it with.
Yeah, it says it's 1 to 4, but I couldn't start the game. So
I could. I think you had to go to like split screen and
I mean, did you grab a second controller and?
No, I actually didn't. Like, I had a full screen. I forget what I did, but
Okay,
I got
so
into it.
this one may have been a victim of
Guitar
bad menus for
retired.
me, though.
Yeah.
Guitar required, obviously.
Yeah. The next one up is Block the Laser. And we talked about it. We ended up not doing a video on this one, but it was talked about in the contender. So it is a puzzle game. So, you know, all condolences aside, you won't have any sales whatsoever on Xbox Live Indie Games. It's a puzzle game. And it takes a little bit to get into it before you actually start having lasers on the screen. But you're trying to move your little robot guy across the screen to the exit, but there will be things in your way, and through a combination of switches and blocks, you'll block the laser, be able to move a little bit further, then, you know, switch it to another part, and then work it out. The trial doesn't ever get to a point where it is challenging. It even requires you to think. Like, you can just kind of blindly toggle the switches, and you'll just kind of work your way through it.
It actually, I kind of had a different experience. I think the second level, it presents you with a button that you have to step on, and then you have to go around this loop and step on it again, and you actually have to go around the loop. And it
took me a while to figure out what the mechanic was.
Exactly.
But the mechanic basically is if you touch a button
the
from one side, you can't touch that button again from the same side and press it again. So you'll have to come at it from another side, which the way they describe it in the tutorial of like touch this button and not go around in a loop is like, wait, so I have to go in a circle to touch a button again?
What's the trigger?
Yeah.
Is what I kept wondering. It's interesting. Like, if you like puzzle games, you know, check it out. If you can wrap your mind around it, the levels look pretty well designed, but I just kind of like, I could do well enough to get by, but
I didn't have to like think and pre-plan a lot in advance. And so for a puzzle game, you know, you kind of didn't know. Our next one up is Hide and Scare by Silver Dollar Games. So this is a modified screensaver where basically you push the button to make the scary face come up, and it's like punk your friends, you know.
And what's sad is
there's some draws where you can do this.
The lure.
Yeah.
Like
the
lure
contrasts.
Yeah, the lures are like press these buttons to get your friends to pay attention to the screen. One's like, you know, the little contrast bar like they had on TVs a decade ago.
Did you read the tutorial? Like, you'll have to try several times to get a successful scare, you know?
Yeah. Actually, when I first went in, I hit A just immediately, and I bypassed the first screen. I was like, oh, this is actually going to be a game. You know, I've got to lure some creature out, and then I'm like, no, let me go back, because they're talking about hiding the controller. And I go back and like, oh, this is an app.
I'll just
Thinking
rate
outside
on
the
the
box.
silver dollarometer.
Yeah.
Thinking outside the box, still using stock photography of women.
Your idea would have been a game. Their idea was not.
No.
Our next one up is Grid Legion Deviant Remix. This is a kind of a card game. Kind of a what do you call them? CCGs?
CCG, I guess. I didn't. It threw a lot at me at first, and I didn't really get too far into it. It kind of has this Magic the Gathering feel, except on a grid. You line up units.
Do you tap stuff?
You do not tap stuff. You line up your units across this grid, and they basically fire attacks in different ways, depending on whether you're using like a healer or an archer or a knight. And you're basically blocking each other and trying to damage, you know, see how much damage you can get through. It looks real polished. It's neat if you're into that kind of thing. Definitely check it out.
A CCG on a console is...
It is rough. There's a lot of information being thrown at you.
Well, and it's just a card game. It's like, why do I need my Xbox for this?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that was actually one thing I ran into. Sorry, I think I talked over you. Go ahead.
Oh, well, this is that Magic the Gathering card game that came out on Xbox Live Arcade. Did it fairly well, but
yeah,
I don't know.
That one seems to be like, that's you got Magic the Gathering. It's immensely popular. If you're into it, you want to play a lot. You can't find people to play. You're willing to play online. To go grab some indie CCG.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. Like, I gotta give him props for trying. I think interface really matters. And this one, for example, like, you'd play down a healer and they walked through how you could heal another unit. And you had to, like, go to the card info. You have to scroll down through all the actual card info to the heal ability and then select a unit. Whereas, if you're playing Magic, you just reach out, turn the card over, name your target, done.
Next one we have, who is the best? Math. So,
Quiz game.
Quiz game where you answer math questions.
Yes.
Next one up is Solar 2. So, sequel to Solar, and so you start out life as an asteroid. You smash into some asteroids. You grow a little bigger.
You're a small planet.
And then you're a small planet. You can get asteroids to orbit you, and you can suck them in to grow bigger, or you can have them orbit you. And then as you kind of go along, there are little quests to pick up and do. So you can fly into these little rings and pick up a quest, and they'll be like, hey, go take out this planet. The apes have evolved and have space travel, and we can't have space apes or something. That was one of them that I got.
Oh, because I got one. Oh, I'm going to shoot rockets at you in a second. Don't die.
Yeah, I got that, but all the quests I failed. Like there was something fundamental about the Solar 2 that I was missing because I couldn't knock out other planets. I couldn't evade the missiles. I couldn't, complete any of the quests. I managed to complete none of them, and I actually loaded up the trial twice.
Okay.
I couldn't avoid this. I couldn't avoid this rockets, but the ones with the take out the asteroids, I completed one, but then died immediately thereafter. Another one, they were like, I hope you don't have life on your planet. If you do, go ahead and get rid of it, because you don't want them to die while you're doing this.
So, I believe that this Solar 2 is on Steam, so I have to say congratulations to him, whoever developed it.
Yeah, he's on Steam, so that means
he'll get some.
He'll get more sales on Steam, including possibly Patrick, who won't buy it now that it's on Steam and XBLIG.
Well, when it hits that summer sale, that's come up like in 2 days, man.
I actually reviewed the first Solar, and I think I gave it a try. The concepts were really neat. They just didn't have much of a tutorial. You had to play it for a while to figure out what it wanted you to do. This seems to have a
abstract.
Better. Yeah, and there were a lot of the missions were timed, and it wasn't obvious how you the shortcuts that you use to kind of get ahead quickly. This seems to have more of a tutorial, so I would pick this up I would say if you're into a certain genre, it's a fun game.
It is
How much
400
is it?
points.
It's $10 on Steam currently for the retail.
Oh, wow, so it's cheaper on Xbox Live Indie Games. So
it's not like it can't be the same price.
Next one we have up is Shift It, and this is a match game. It's not even a match 3. You match 2 blocks and they'll disappear. But you try to eliminate all blocks on the screen. So it's closer to is it Peggle?
Yeah.
Is that the actual? I remember playing it on my TiVo, and I think they called it dots on the TiVo, and you just match the dots until you try to clear the screen.
Oh, it's that one game that was on.
Because it doesn't refill in. As you clear, it doesn't fill back in.
Yeah.
And this also adds to it. The levels have different shapes, so you kind of got to figure out. There is some thought to the puzzle to how to clear all the shapes. I'm going to have to move some out of the way. I'm going to have to be careful not to have these 2 touch because they'll clear it, and I have to wait until I get all 3 to touch at once. So there's a little bit of strategy to it, but this needs to find its way to a mobile device.
Yes, that would actually be.
This would be a great mobile device game. This is not such a great Xbox game.
No.
3-star hell.
Oh, the next one. A game about my cat.
For what this was, like the main game was this kind of skiing sledding game where you're this cat in the litter box
Sledding
running
down, yes.
doing tricks. Kind of a neat concept. I don't know if this was done ironically because they have like 2 games, and then you can unlock photos of this guy's cat, and then there's a menu option to tell you about the guy's cat.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't understand.
Well, no. There's not 2 games. There's
No.
sledding down in your litter box and trying to freestyle for points by flipping in the air and get a certain number of points. You can unlock cat photos. The second
other
one
option,
isn't a
then?
game. It's the laser pointer for the cat.
Oh,
You just
yeah.
move around a dot on the screen or a mouse or whatever toy you select for the cat to chase the screen. I don't know if that counts as a game, and if it is a game, it's not a game for you, it's a game for the cat.
This is, like I said, this has to be done ironically. Like, this is a piece of performance art, and bravo, sir, to you for creating it.
Next game up, World Wars. This is a kind of a hybrid real-time and turn-based World War strategy game. So if you played any of the tile-based, turn-based strategy games on the PC that used to be popular, 90s, I don't think anybody's really making any of those anymore.
No.
This is a kind of a throwback to that. It's not as tightly on a grid as it was before, but you do kind of like select a unit and move it here, but some things seem to go on in real time. It took a little while for me to figure out the controls.
Yeah.
And then once I got the controls on, all my guys died invading Omaha Beach. They didn't make it off the boats. It wasn't pretty at all. So some way, I should have like attempted a coordinated attack better or something. But I kind of like figured out how to move a piece, and I moved it all the way up. And I guess I needed to kind of move them closer and then, move them all at once.
Yeah, I couldn't really wrap my head around it. I probably should have gone farther in the tutorial.
This would be something worth checking out if you do miss those tile-based, turn-based games that have gone by, and you're kind of wanting a more strategic game. Although, if you're kind of wanting that, the real-time nature is probably going to turn you off.
Yep.
Maybe almost like a Close Combat, if you ever played those. That was a kind of nice mix between the war simulation game and the real time. Our next game up is the winner for Most Misleading Boobs of the Week award, Platformance Temple Death. So what you need to do to win the Most Misleading Boobs award is put boobs on the cover, maybe in the title screen,
and then
that are nowhere in the actual game. We have some other boob games this week, but not misleading boobs. We have boobs that deliver. So what's funny is like Platformance is all pixelated as the art style, and the naked chick on the cover isn't pixelated at all. Like her art style doesn't even match the rest of the game.
No, she is on the title screen and apparently nowhere else unless
But-
maybe you finish
This
it.
is what she would have looked like if they'd actually
How
drawn
does
her
it
out.
stack up to the first one?
If you
You
like the
reviewed it.
first
I-
one,
I
you're gonna
liked
love
it.
this one. You're getting more of Platformance.
Yeah, I bought the game before we did the trials.
Yes,
so,
so
we
you
had to...
fucked everything up because we couldn't do a trial of this game. We did record a video of this game, but we had to fake our own trial because
did an
somebody
8-minute
bought the game
timer.
before they were supposed to.
Because I loved the game and I wanted to play it.
Yeah,
She was
so
enthusiastic. That's
yeah, this is definitely worth checking out.
she's writing a review.
This is more Platformance. And you know what? Hats off to Magico Gaming, the guys, because by putting her on the cover like this and like making the little what they call it,
500%.
Grace Belly.
I
Yes.
think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Grace
It's like
Kelly, I
you're
guess.
you're saving Grace Belly this time. That's the plot. Yeah, 500% more downloads, trials, and it's a great game, so they're going to convert.
Didn't Magico do Bunker Buster?
Yes, they did.
So they won
Yes, they
the
did.
most misleading boobs
Yes, they
2
did.
weeks in a
Twice.
row.
Yes, they did.
Zombies with giant tits.
For a game company that actually does good games like the Platformance series, that just seems out of place.
The next one we have on the list is Queso Games.
It's a case of games.
Yeah.
They're not very good games, but
At
they're
all.
games.
I tried the tower defense, and it was
Hated
just...
It's all
Kinda-
about
I
games.
love tower defense
Blocky
games,
and-
but that was just nasty.
All profits of this game go to benefit Child's Play, and
That's a great thing, but no.
it is a nice thing, but we've seen a couple of these come out, and they're always on horrible, horrible games. And I wonder if there's some point where they, like, get a takedown notice of, like, don't cross-promote Child's Play with...
Do not help us.
Yeah.
No, that...
Persona non grata.
Our next one up, we did video of, and it is Bloody Checkers. So, yes, this is a checkers game. Also, 3D first-person...
RPG.
I don't know if it's a shooter. RPG,
No,
yeah.
it's definitely an RPG. Because you've
You
got an
start
inventory
out,
and
you
everything.
open chests in first-person mode to find the key, to open the door, get a torch.
Light your candle.
Light some candles, find some coins in treasure chests, and then you look at a painting, and then you challenge the dead woman in the painting to a game of checkers. But you get to booby trap the board. Now, the booby traps when they go off, seem to give you points and gold and coins and things. They don't actually alter the game of checkers. So you are playing just straight checkers still, but the traps going off net you gold and points. And I think I got to like a shop on one of the trials. It's really hard on the trial to get through a lot. There's a lot in the game. So it's really hard in one playthrough to try to get past the first game of checkers to see what you get to do.
Yes. If you go to the inventory screen, there seem to be a lot of items that don't come up in like the traps dialogue. So I think there might be more RPG elements than you can see in the trial.
So you got this whole castle to explore.
I wish it wasn't a checkers game.
Because there was a
'cause
map.
I just can't get past the checkers thing. And we discussed this in the video, but it's such a nice looking game.
Our next one up is Avatar Battle Bees. And your avatar rides on a bee, and you try to shoot down other avatars also riding on a bee. I started out in the volcano.
Yes,
I did
too.
too, yeah.
I didn't know there were volcano bees, but apparently there are volcano bees, and they're quite deadly. Now, the bees lack radar, and so finding the
this is
opponents,
a flight sim, basically.
Yeah,
an
I mean,
arcade style.
It's not very arcadey. It's pretty flight sim type control.
Well,
Like
I kind of got more of the X-Wing. It's been a while since I played X-Wing, but that sort of...
Well, I mean, you completely had freedom to go in all directions and everything. It didn't lock on to anything automatically for you.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I guess that's why I'm going there.
I'm just
now, I don't
saying-
know if like your bee stalled or had other physics applied.
Yeah.
I didn't try that. My biggest problem was
Seemed to move
finding
a
the
little
other
fast.
bees.
Oh yeah, that was my problem. I couldn't find them until they were right up on me, and then I was dead. So
How's the controls? Like, are they tight?
No, I would
Not
not say they
really.
were tight.
again, I guess it comes back to whether you're looking for simulation or arcade style.
they
like,
were
what your preference
very,
is.
very touchy.
Yes.
And it was really hard to line up a crosshairs. It's almost like they moved too literal with the bee. Like, there wasn't enough physics. So, like, if you imagine the old dogfighting games and you got your P-51 that you're in, you have to forcibly make that thing bank. It just doesn't turn on a dime. Whereas these bees just, bounced around instantly.
Yes.
And so it was much harder to track opponents, and it was much harder to find your way.
Because of the size, like, it was hard for me to notice the enemies before they were right up on me, and there was no radar. It's like you have to keep constantly moving in this. It's like
And
for
your
more
bee has,
hardcore players, I think.
Your bee has reverse.
I did not notice
Yes.
that
I noticed
because I
it.
never thought of that in.
Well, it had it in the little flash thing. It's like, this is forward, that's reverse. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Our
Flight
next
Sim is
one.
just
Common theme that these 3D XBLIG games have iffy like aiming. Like I don't know what it is. Like they'll make a decent looking game, and then like the actual act of just like shooting is sometimes I don't know.
Well, I think what it is that you need to go for the console, and you really need to break down or read somebody's article who has broken down what Halo did for the first-person shooter on the console, because these guys are implementing mouse and keyboard type controls where you don't have that kind of precision.
They're being very literal about it. Like, okay, if your player is facing this direction, then the targeting is this direction, so just fire something along that vector. Whereas, what you need to be doing is kind of doing
subtle,
some smart,
but it's important to get the differences down between a mouse and keyboard shooter versus a controller shooter.
Sounds about right.
Your reticle did go red whenever you lined up a shot, I believe, but it was so far, it was so moving so quickly. It was, again. Not a flight sim
so I think that's
guy,
what the issue is. I think a lot of these games, because the mouse and keyboard's a lot easier to or just the very literal, it's a very easier system to implement and not think about I need to offset and I need to deal with acceleration of controls so that when I don't know if you noticed this or not, but when you just nudge the control like in Gears of War and Halo and all that, you move slower. Then if you throw that stick all the way over, he responds quicker, So it's like you've got to adjust sensitivity on the fly. It's not a constant value. And those little things make a huge difference. Next one up is Tick Part 1. And this is a puzzle platformer, I guess you would say. The developer put it in action and adventure, which is kind of a weird catch-all genre.
It's not really platform, or not really puzzle, but it's
definitely platformer.
Got a lot of you gotta watch enemy patterns and stuff like that. It's not like a Twitch game.
Yeah, so I guess there's not too much puzzle to it that we encountered.
Really nice art style.
The art style and the level design. We were talking about, how level design has become linear in a lot of games, even AAA titles, like levels are all just kind of go to checkpoint. And this was really good about we're going to kind of wind back on ourselves, and then you're going to get you're going to get the drill, and now you can go into a different section of the level that you saw earlier, but, it's like you can't get over there. Not easy to do. Not easy to work out, more thought, but it was refreshing to see that. So we did video of that, so you'll be able to check a trial up that next week. Next one we have up is The Angry Hand of God.
I don't know. This is kind of like...
Well, first of all, wasn't great.
No.
And it's not a great game. A little concept. You got a little finger and you just shoot lightning out of it and shock people and blow things up and
you're trying
to
do
money for it. I guess you're not getting money.
It's like Rampage.
Total damage.
Yeah, it actually is a lot like Rampage, except...
Rampage
it's not
was
really
better.
I mean, Rampage is a platformer. This is just kind of a point and click.
No, Rampage I wouldn't call a platformer at all. You just jumped on the buildings and beat them all down.
Okay. Me
and my brother stayed up on nests one night and just beat the entire... Because every time you beat it, you beat a couple cities, you'd knock out a state, you keep going. Yeah. So we went through the entire freaking game. We're up all night doing it. And all that game said when you completed everything and you bared everything out, it just came a little message. In text. Congratulations. And went to the start screen. We were so fucking pissed. Not even a little dancing, not even watching the creatures turn back into their human forms and be cured. Nothing. Just congratulations. It was great in the arcade, though. Playing that in the arcade coin-op with other players.
Well, I don't mean platforming, but you don't.
But
even
it had
move
that feel.
around.
It definitely has Rampage feel to it, where you're just kind of on that destruction vibe, and then we total up the levels at the end. But then it cuts off after one level. It's that's all you get to play in the demo.
Yeah. So I don't know where
I know
it's taking
I know
it.
It may sometimes, not all games may be able to fill an 8-minute demo well, but don't cut me off after 60 seconds or whatever.
Well, unless that's all it is. And it's got a lot of neat effects. You only have so much charge. You have to charge back up.
When you cut me off at 60 seconds, tells me you don't have 8 minutes of gameplay. because
Yeah.
you cut me off at 60 seconds. Because if I had 8 minutes of gameplay, I would have played the whole thing. I know it's $1, but you're not getting it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
I
kind of
should
an
have cut
arcadey.
Mute Crimson off at one level. Like 10 seconds, walk to the right.
Wow.
Next one up, Game Master's Xbox Game Guide. So this dude went to GameFAQs and loaded up a bunch of
This has to be
GameFAQs.
illegal.
Yeah, it
And
does.
It does, but I think the dude had in his review forum that it's funny. Somebody failed him, and he had put in the forum, "Hey, that's not failable. This is okay. Have permission." Which then that's supposed to be all right. He said he has permission, so you don't fail for that.
Bullshit.
And then it did get failed, and I was surprised to see it come on because then people were saying like, "Well, it's going to take forever to read all this stuff." But here's the main problem with this. All right. I can't multitask on the Xbox.
Yes.
So while I'm playing Dragon's Quest, or
If you have a smartphone,
Dragon's Age 2,
that's what you want to
I
use.
can't jump out to go look up the game FAQ on my Xbox. And you're right, I have a smartphone that I will pull up, or a wireless laptop,
I do wonder, too, like, what happens when, I mean, he's obviously not going to keep this updated with GameFAQs. That's a lot of work. And
I think we spent more time than deserved to talking on that game.
Yeah.
Next one up, When Maidens Attack. We did video of this one.
Oh, man, this is so weird.
So, it's wanting to be Star Wars.
Yes, because
She has a lightsaber. She can force push. She has lightning to come out of her hands.
that dude does in Force Unleashed.
She does the dash. But it's like, hey, if we come even close to that, we'll get our asses suit off.
So she's some medieval maiden trying to kill a half-naked wizard who stole her shoes. Because she's a woman and that's the most valuable thing she has.
And
Poor
she's
stupid creatures.
killing unicorns and eating their hearts for health.
Unicorns.
With a very pornographic voiceover when she does.
She goes, and then the unicorns are all like,
Her sprite looks like that shitty Zelda from the CDI game.
Yes.
The Wand of Gamelon or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not it, but it
Except
just reminds me of
worse.
it.
The animation for the lightsaber is comically bad.
Oh, yeah, when she's attacking. Cause it's
it shouldn't even raise it above her head. She just kind of like twirls it at her hip level, The lightning, I don't know. It's the guy should dress it up a little bit, clean up the graphics a little bit. They're a little rough, and send it over to Adult Swim Games and see if they'll be interested.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I can't tell if this is like. It's one of those like, is he trying to be? In what way is he trying to be funny? Ironically or
It's
seriously?
Yeah. Next game we have up is Send In Jimmy, and first-person shooter. Jimmy has to go kill a bunch of aliens. They move
first
really
you have to do the
slow.
communications, and then you kill some aliens. Who
Yeah,
blow
you go
up.
touch each communication tower, and
It's kind of graphics are kind of rough. They're good for
this is
3D graphics, but
I hope this is the truth too.
not as polished.
But this appears to be a guy's first stab at a game, at a 3D game.
In that case, that is pretty awesome.
And it better than most.
Yes.
Better than what we've
It
seen.
didn't crash, and it didn't throw me in some weird error. So
I wonder.
He's got HUD going, and like objectives. That actually is impressive.
the voices
I don't
didn't
wanna
completely
be-
tick me off.
Too rough. He's got a couple other games on the service. Not exactly his first. The other ones aren't first-person shooters though. I don't want to be too rough though, because this is the kind of guy like, hey, yeah, you get a couple games going,
You
put them
might
out
do
there, learn from them, and then next thing you know, you'll get some polished ones going on
Yeah,
there.
definitely. I mean, how big is it in scope though? Like, is it
It's-
one level or?
It's pretty. It has multiple levels, but they're pretty tight single levels. Like in the second or third level, like if you got to the edge, you realize the terrain just looped at a certain point, and was all straight flat. Like you couldn't walk over there, but like the visually seeing there.
Right.
It's kind of rough, but I mean, he's got waypoints, mission objectives going on, to do that. So it's not just a straight run and shoot and kill everything. It has some things to do. You get a little bit more story the next time. It's worth you take a look. It's not going to be anything that's going to amaze anybody, but as a developer looking at it, it's like good
show.
Yep.
This you can go somewhere with this. You're on a good path to make something interesting. Next one up is Mars Revenge, and my favorite thing I like to see is a Space Invaders clone
With a melee attack.
with a melee attack. Yes,
And like RPG elements.
it kind of has that, but man, the graphics were just all over the place. Like I guess it wasn't so much like bad graphics, although the graphics were bad. It was just you just got a lot of uncontrolled chaos going on the screen.
Like the HUD had like a little animated thing.
Yeah,
on
the
it.
HUD had a little animated thing, but things are flying over by the HUD, and you
can't
can fly on
you
top
can
your
shoot
HUD.
into the HUD, and the HUD doesn't.
Well, this looks weird.
The HUD takes
Yeah.
some of the damage instead
It
of.
actually crashed the first time I launched the game attempting to load. Like
Wow.
the loading bar slowed down, the frame rate dropped to like 3 frames per minute,
It did
and
say
then it crashed out.
it's still loading. Please wait a minute.
Yeah.
we're still good.
Got
And when
kinda
I came
this
back in the
quirky
second
sense of
time, it did
humor.
take forever to load. It's not good. Our next one up, we did video of,
No, I don't.
and it is Fluffy
Oh, okay.
Operation Overkill. And this game really wants to be Happy Tree Friends. It
Yes.
totally is Happy Tree Friends, the game.
I totally got confused there because I keep forgetting these are in different order than on the marketplace. But this is kind of a run and gun action game. It's from what I played, it's actually pretty neat, although it's a little bit touchy. Like
It's a little fast, and
it's fast paced.
it is a little touchy, and even in the trial, it gets to a crazy, overwhelming thing.
Yes,
So I don't know how many levels did it say, 20?
I
Did
don't
that one pop
remember
up and tell us it had 20 levels on there?
Did not.
So
think.
I mean, it looked like it had a good, decent amount,
Yeah.
and then there was also a,
There's a video at the end of the trial that actually like gives you.
but there was
Previews.
what did they call it, zombie mode, or did they call it
It was zombie mode.
zombie mode, which
Yeah, this
basically
is
is your
gory.
horde. It's like survive 20 waves
Yeah,
on the same map, getting
Yeah,
increasingly.
you got a bunch of different weapons. You have to kick enemies out of the way, so there's a little bit more.
It's got down the art style, of violent, fluffy animals,
Yes.
being ripped to
Decapitated
shreds and
and
seeing
ripped
their
to
brains
shreds.
and spleens thrown everywhere. I mean, if you've seen Happy Tree Friends, this is Happy Tree Friends, the
Yeah.
game. Go there. Although, I don't know how varied it will get in later levels,
Yeah,
but great art style, and, it's
they
worth a
start
look.
you off with a pretty good variety of weapons. So
We got
it
a
has
trial
potential.
coming up on that, so. Our last one up of the week is probably the one you were thinking of.
yes,
Beach Paddle. And
I was waiting for a hentai-ish game where you spank the girls.
oh no, this is Pong.
this is
It's Pong with power ups.
it's Pong with power ups.
Still Pong.
Check out those
But-
girls, man.
Yeah, the underage girls in the cover. A little jailbait for all you Moe fans. Although you don't have to unlock anything. They're pretty much just
Yeah,
down to bikinis to begin with. So
This has a lot of ratings for what it is.
a lot of ratings.
250 ratings.
yeah, it's carrying like
so
4
there are at
stars
least
right now.
250 perverts out there.
It's, I guess, a competent Pong game for Pong. One of the
No,
fun-
it's not.
Well,
No, it's not. Like there's tons of times where the
oh yeah,
paddle, the ball went through the paddle.
the paddle was kind of.
The angles are all jacked up. The speed of the ball isn't balanced with the speed of the paddles, and it basically was a random thing. It had levels. Oh, it had like 40 levels or something.
Yeah, and you'd
With a
unlock
menu.
like the first one was regular. The second one had like this guy. If you hit him with the ball, he'd throw out a power up.
You can also have power downs too.
Power down.
There were also like slow your own paddle down, and
This isn't
But
the
it-
developer's first game who did this. Oh my
Is
god, he did Avilice Dungeon
Yes.
and
Oh.
Beach Bubbles.
Yeah.
Wow, both of those were the same concept, like near nudity, you know.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the funny
But
things
at least
about
in the other two, the girls looked a little older.
yes, actually, one of the sad things I noticed about this when you score a point, this girl appears on screen, and she's got coach, but instead of like they put text on the character. Mm-hmm. But depending on who wins, they just flip it around.
They flip it around, and then coach is just backwards. Yeah.
Oh.
Like they didn't even bother to do two.
Make a second frame.
Yeah, or do some brawl overlays or
Time
something.
is money.
Yeah.
But this was a quick one. You just flip it in Photoshop and then erase what's on the boobies and rewrite it.
I guess if
We
you're
don't
the
have the
target
budget.
audience,
We don't have the budget.
You're not spending. They blew all their art budget, and if you're the target audience for this game, you're not reading anything anyway.
Yeah. So that wraps up our new releases for the week. Game of the week. I'll throw out some just to get the nominations here. We've got Fluffy Operation Overkill, Tick Part 1, Platformance Temple Death, and I think that's it for what we talked about earlier. Going on there. So between Platformance Temple Death, Tick Part 1, and Fluffy.
I would probably vote Fluffy, but really it's a really close race. Like they're all
Can you eliminate one? How about that?
Oh man, that's depends on what you like in platformers.
Yeah, I was leaning either towards Platformance or Tick.
See, I would eliminate Platformance and focus on Tick and I keep wanting to say Happy Tree Friends. Fluffy. Just because Platformance is Platformance, you know.
Yeah, there's been another.
So these are a type 3 race. So I'm not taking anything away from any of these games. So the fact that we've seen it, I kind of want to cross it off, and I think Tick would be where I would end up with. What are your thoughts, Dylan?
I would actually probably eliminate Tick. It's a real nice game. It's beautiful art style. I just felt like it was very busy and very like you have to have a lot of patience. It's very, figuring out enemies' patterns. Platformance is hard as fun, so I mean, I would probably do my first place.
Fuck those guys that make these ridiculously difficult platformers.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it's not my thing. Like my first would probably be Fluffy, then Platformance, then Tick.
Gotta make a game like Kirby's Adventure. That's what I gotta do.
I don't know that I ever played that.
That's another you hate yourself game.
So all right,
Series.
Cicely, do your rundown here.
My favorites are Platformance, then Tick, then Fluffy. Fluffy, I like Happy Tree Friends in small doses, and too much of it just gets. I have an overactive imagination, let us say.
So we have a number 1 for all 3 games.
Yes.
Yes,
and we have a number 3
for all 3
for all 3 games.
I haven't played any of them, but Platformance is hot, baby.
I'm gonna it was good. I mean, I ain't taking that away from it, and I may have to go to the boob standard for ratings.
What's the boob standard?
Like,
if you have it, you're trying too
hard. At this part, if there's boobs,
get to the back of the line.
There's no boobs in Fluffy, and there's no boobs in Tick. And if there are boobs in Tick, they're flat mechanical breasts. They're not.
It's the quality that matters.
If flat mechanicals or hidden mold.
Oh my gosh! If there are in Tick, it's my eyes.
Okay, so
my childhood.
Between Tick and Platformance, you were going.
I like Platformance better, but going with the newer stuff, I would go Tick.
The one you would eliminate, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. Like Tick is really good. If you guys want to go with Tick, I would.
Do we have any comments in chat? They've stopped listening at this point.
They're still there,
Yeah.
but
They're having their own discussion.
I don't know. I'm not seeing anything.
All right, so we have 2 for Tick.
Sure.
I think
go
we're just gonna
ahead.
have to
Oh, good.
override you. That's the way it is some weeks. But fortunately, this wasn't a week of
It was so close.
what the hell are we gonna vote for. This was a
Yeah.
week of 3 strong contenders.
I wish we could give you all.
Has
Game
Silver
of the
Dollar
Week.
Games ever won?
No, I don't think we've
I
ever
don't
had a
think it
week
ever
that
would.
bad.
I hate
Where
to say it, like there's that instant bias at this point. Like even
They
Even-
are Gold Digger games.
that is true, but even
We-
like Office Affairs, we were like, there seems to be something. Nah, there's not something.
well, we
here.
didn't. Yeah, we considered buying that game just to see because the story was
Even-
kind of interesting.
Yeah,
But
We've been burned too often.
yeah, didn't want
if
to get
you
burned
use
again.
stock photography, I know
So,
where this is going.
congratulations to the many people that worked on Tick Part 1. I hit the credits on that, and that was a larger team game there at Red Candy Games that worked on it. So, and they got a couple of awards on their box art. So I think they went to some indie festivals and placed and got some awards there. So, hopefully that does well for them.
Yep.
I'd like to see that going. So, anything else before I wrap up and we get out of here?
I don't think so.
There's
On this-
a contest going on, Something Awful, if anyone here is a member. I don't know. But basically it's a game development challenge for a month. There's like some dudes are still pitching in rewards. I think it's like $500 something. Some dudes giving out a license, I think, for like Torque or XNA a year of it or something. If you like those types of challenges, this one usually pumps out some quality things.
And that's on Something Awful?
Something Awful, yeah.
All
That former has a $10 like cock block essentially, so you can't just register.
Good deal. I'll get that linked in the show notes there for everyone. Anything from you guys?
Nope.
Nope. We
Anything
can
from
we
the
can
chat?
end this Ben Hur of a podcast. We're over 2 hours at this point. And we are not fucking Giant Bomb. We
No.
can't.
No.
Although I did get through all like 12 hours or whatever the fuck of E3 podcast finally. But now I'm behind on everything else.
Oh.
And one of these days I'm going to send them an angry email of like, look, you motherfuckers, 4-hour podcast, are you shitting me?
Stop making so much goddamn quality content.
I love listening to him, but god damn it.
But it's not all like it's a lot of inside joking and rambling.
But
Oh,
I'm
definitely.
with.
But it's
I'm,
entertaining because I
I'm
keep
there
listening
with
to
their
it.
inside jokes because I've listened to enough of it.
But it's not all healthy calories.
No.
No.
I'm gonna have another cupcake when we go upstairs.
Speaking of
Thank you,
unhealthy
everyone, for listening, and let's do this again in a week.
Been fun.